All right, tell us about Belleville.
It's a traditional crowd. It's not if it was not if you have metal prints or not. It has to be everything has to be framed. If you
Hmm.
have that traditional look, you will do well. And there's not that much this traffic, but people was no buying a lot. There was no enough packages walking around,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know. It was if I'm going money wise, I would think it was a low end crowd
Hmm.
with some sparkle here and there of high end money. So some people did really well, other people did, okay. By
Hmm.
my standards now, it was just okay for me. It was
Right.
not the best show. And I would not go back because I just think I got lucky, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
I didn't I saw basically 25 11 by 14 prints in basically
Uh,
3 days, which is
got
not
it.
a lot, but that's a lot for me because I usually don't sell that many.
Uh-huh.
So it's not that they didn't
And
like my work, it's that they didn't have the money to spend in my work. And there
and
was
it
a lot
sounds
of
like it. Go ahead.
what?
Sorry.
No,
It
tell
also
me.
sounds like if they're traditional, your work is very modern looking. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. So
I thought it
because you
was
have much larger pieces too, right?
Yeah, and they was complaining about the price a lot, which
Oh,
I
I
thought it was the same crowd of St. Louis, right? Isn't it a suburb of
no
St. Louis?
somebody Scott Swayze told me it's not. It's not even close to the same crowd as St. Louis. But I'm going to tell you one thing. If now I have no desire to apply to Clayton,
to
I don't care
which?
how good I will not apply to St. Louis anymore. Because if it's the same crowd, from what I understand, there's no point for me to even think about the show.
I don't know. I don't know. St. Louis has a different reputation, and there's it's funny because I mean the shows really vary so much, even in the same city. Um, so I don't know that you could just say that. I Let's see. I mean, my work sells at St. Louis, and it's definitely a very urban crowd, I guess you would say, and um, people were savvy. Um, and the show's reputation helps, I would say, like giving people a preconceived notion before they get there, if that makes sense. So I don't know that I'd just
Well,
say like I mean I was thinking like how does Plaza differ from Brookside? They're in the same neighborhood, but I mean I know the show is different, and I've never done Plaza, so I'd like to actually do it sometime to try and compare. Um, and I know people complain about Plaza being, just there's a lot of loud music, and where Brookside is all about the show itself. So yeah. Anyway,
well, I can only tell you what I think about it. Also, the the commentary of the metal prince came up again with two people, and I had to tell them, it's popular right now. That's what people want. It would be stupid not to do what people want. This end
mhm,
of the story. If you don't like it, it's not for you to decide. That's for photographer to decide. You just
right.
let it be.
Maybe look at St. Louis, like last year's photographers, and see what they've, you know, and see
It's
if they're
just that
returning it all.
the things like the other thing that it struck me about this show
Hmm.
was it's considered one of the top 10 most of the time. But photography wise, you didn't have Christie or Henry Cliff or Michael Cole.
Hmm.
Uh, and I'm missing a couple more on top of my head, but there was no the people that that you consider the staples of shows for photography
Uh-huh.
for the high shows. None of them was there. It was a bunch
Right.
of I put it to you this way: I knew every single photographer that was there,
Uh-huh.
and I can tell you, none of us, including myself, are like guaranteed to be in the top 10 shows all the time.
Mhm.
So, but that's just my opinion. You know, they are.
Right.
You know, it's not saying that we are bad or anything like that. It
Mhm.
was not like a, you know, the show overall. When you walk it, I was not impressed.
Right. Okay.
If that makes
But
sense.
yeah, I'm just saying it's not a reason I think to rule out St. Louis Art Fair.
Well, it's too close. It's like at the same problem that how with Lumar. There's a highly 3D show,
Hmm.
but once again, it's not. You know, it's too close,
Well,
and
no, I'm just
a lot
saying
of the
if you're not going to do Belleville, don't give up on applying to St. Louis because you may get different results because it's a different crowd. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, but I cannot crack the code in that show never, and you know, so that's the other reason why to keep wasting $50 in application.
Well, tell me about
You know,
it. I got my rejection for Philadelphia today. I got into every single outdoor show that I applied to, which has never happened, ever. But I got
Mhm.
rejected from Smithsonian and from Philadelphia. I didn't even get on the wait list. And those shows are exclusively craft fairs. So there's no 2D work. There's no,
Mhm.
wall pieces, that kind of thing. So, I'm not sure even how to analyze it. I mean, I haven't gotten in 25 years of applying. I have not
Yeah,
applied all these years, but it's
Maybe,
interesting.
maybe they know who you are, right? All of those shows require the artist name in the middle of the application.
Right. So, they obviously don't like my work or whatever the case may be. I don't take it personally, but I've certainly seen colleagues of mine in my medium get in, and so yeah, I mean, they don't know me so well on the East either, on the East Coast.
the other thing that cracked me up was a lady came and asked me what is a rack man, and I go like uh, and that's a free mat, 100% cotton. It's archival. It's not going to deteriorate or anything like that. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and there was another guy that walked with of course, with a Nikon D850 and his
Uh-huh.
shoulder. Every time I
Of course.
see that, I don't want to talk to the person because it
Right.
just rubbed me the wrong way. And it's just saying, "Oh, why you want us to archival of metal prints?" I said, "Well, last time they tested, it was 65 years, and
Mm-hmm.
if you do rack paper photographic traditional photographic paper is only 30. If you do archival inkjet print paper, it's probably going to be 100, and that's all depends how you store. So I don't know. It's just a key mistake. If you think you're going to live 65 years, by all means, or more than that, I can consider your concern, but 65 years to me is a lifetime. So, especially when you are 50.
Right. Right.
So but if you say then they start asking me about the why everybody's printing with metal. I said, well, I don't think that everybody prints with metal. Everybody prints according to the image and what it looks like, and what it looks better for the image.
Mm-hmm.
And I just go like a deja vu again, thinking about answering all these questions again, and I just go like why people want to get so much into the technical stuff and don't talk more
Right.
about what they see,
The images,
you know?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I
Maybe you
wonder,
could make a FAQ sheet and post it.
yeah, I wonder if there's a way to redirect. I mean, it sounds like at this show there were a lot of people like that asking all these things. But I mean, I just wonder, like when people ask me, how long does it take to make that? I point to a bracelet that takes about 4 months, and then I start talking about my products, and I almost, like what Bruce Baker says, I don't really answer the question. So I just wonder, I know sometimes it's hard if they're asking you about ragmat, you know, but it's one thing to think about. How do you direct people back to the sale? Because then if you're selling to them and they don't want to buy your work, maybe it'll get them to flee.
Yeah, the
Or-
thing is like also they caught you when you have a conversation with somebody else that's going to
Mhm.
buy something, and I found that extremely rude.
Right.
So it's just like I don't know, but you know, like I
Yeah.
said, nothing to do with the show. I just think that they brought the wrong audience to the show, at least for me. So, and the other thing
Right.
that they said at the dinner was, which I think it cracked me up, but it also rubbed me the wrong way. Oh, you guys do this for the love of art, and I'm like, no, I don't travel 5 hours to a show for the love of art. I want to make fucking money to pay my bills. If I'm not making money, I will not come back to your freaking show. I don't care what it
Right.
is.
Right. No, I get that. I mean, I mean, you know, it's, I never understand that. It's like, yeah, we also have to make money, and, you know, we've spent money to go to the show and, you know, paid our booth fee and all the other expenses involved. It's like, we gotta make money. I mean, this is the society we live in. And
Yeah.
so, you know, it's, you know, and unless you're independently wealthy, it's impossible to be pure.
Well, and if you were independently wealthy, you wouldn't do art shows.
Well,
Yeah.
you might, actually,
That
you
would
might,
be the last thing I would do.
but there are retired people who have fun doing shows, and, you
Well,
know,
that's not independently wealthy.
No, I got to tell you, it's no way. Yesterday, I drove Sunday night because supposedly I had to do something for the installation yesterday, and the lady called me at 11 o'clock to see if I can come next week. And I was jumping up and down because I didn't have strength to do anything. I was going like, screw this. I was going to. The only reason I was going because she already said yes, but when she told me if I can come next week, I was jumping up and down, enjoying. Because I got a day off to rest.
right.
And then I find out the entire building is solid concrete, so that's why they hired me.
Oh,
Oh,
that's always a pain.
no, it's you just put the you know, that's what you that's what I have a $300 hammer drill made by Milwaukee.
Right. Right.
It's going to be barter for him, and a couple of new brand bits, and that should be fine.
Since I came in late, what show were you talking about, Oscar, that said we do it for the love of
Iron in the Square in Belleville.
Belleville?
Yeah. So it's, you know, there was people that make money, don't get me wrong, and there was people surprisingly did really well, but you know, if you have something too modern, it will not work in there. And I think that the show probably, the channel directors, they also say they have 50% of the artists was brand new. So maybe next year people have more opportunity to apply. So, and like I said, if I was doing this 3 or 4 years ago, I'll be really happy with what I make. But with right now, what I made is not enough to even justify the trip. So,
You know, yeah, I was thinking, I like Brookside, but sometimes you can do a show too much and you almost need to be absent for a year and create that interest again. And I have this local market at home, and it may be worth, like, it's Saturdays, so it may be worth doing 3 or 4 Saturdays. You know, I don't make as much money generally, but the possibility is there. You'd never know. But on the other hand, there's no expenses except $100 booth fee. And making less money at home is really making more money, because then you don't have those travel days. It's less wear and tear on your car. I mean, all of those things. And I've been thinking about that. You know, even the best shows, we have never know how we're going to do. It's always a gamble. I mean, last year I did maybe 4 shows, but it was a good year.
We have
I
was going to say, we have a local show here, Talbot, and it's more or less a craft show, but we'll still do it every other year just because it promotes the store and the studio. And we won't do a lot at the show, but throughout the year, we'll have people stop in and go, oh yeah, I met you at Talbot. So
that's great. That's great.
Works.
So it's like your foot traffic advertising.
Yes, it's advertising.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
That's the 3rd show I got. Tablet is going to do it for the first time in a long time. So I got in before, but I always decline it. So
Talbot?
yeah. So I'm going to see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not far from Chicago, but for me, you know, like Allison was saying, I don't have any expenses. I'm right here at home, so we go ahead and do it. But it is kind of crowded.
Randy, you keep in and out. What's the deal with you?
I just updated some software and I keep crashing, and I don't think it's Zoom. I think it's Photoshop.
Oh, don't remind me that. I got the red dot of what they're saying that I need to update something. I haven't even got to touch it yet.
Well, it's beta version software, so yeah, you get what you for free, what you pay for. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's pretty interesting. It has some AI in it, and it's pretty scary what you can do with an image.
Oh, really? Are you serious?
Yeah. But I don't know. I updated my graphics card software the other day too, and I don't know which one of these is causing the problems yet. So I'm going to stay off of Photoshop for now.
Okay. That's interesting.
Well, weren't we talking about, maybe it was in another group, where there's a weaver and she's using AI to experiment with in her own style?
It was this group.
Was it this group? Okay, yeah.
It was
So
Karen before she went to
that's
Israel.
right. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that and see what because it's AI, but with her own work. So it's her brain. And I find that to be very interesting.
Well, I think she's returning from Italy. She posted yesterday that she was flying home. So maybe she'll be back next week.
Okay.
Well, supposedly the AI that makes crochet patterns for little doll type things, but they're hard to follow. They leave out stuff, or they do stuff that, or say to do stuff that's impossible. So it still needs some tweaking.
Yeah.
You know, I know some jewelers that all of their work is done on CAD. So I wonder how easy it'll be now for them, because it's CAD anyway, to use an AI program to design in their style.
And then do they have it printed? Do they have it 3D printed? Is that it?
Yeah, they'll have it 3D printed into a wax, and then they take that wax and cast it just like you normally would. But every bit of the designs are CAD.
So the question is this, you know, with certain rules of shows, how does that translate? You know, when they say, oh, the artist has to have their hand on the work, and
right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, if they're doing the casting, right?
I mean, I don't know
Well,
if people are doing their own casting or not, but
Well, but some mediums, it's appropriate to cast.
but so if you're having your work 3D printed and then you send it to your caster, and then you give it to your stone setter. I'm saying this with no judgment. It's just
It sounds
an
like the
interesting.
artist isn't involved.
well,
That's what you're saying.
I'll equate
No,
it
I'm
to
not. I'm not saying this. I'm saying this is what one can do. You know, here I am. You know, cutting out parts. But there's
they
nothing
don't
wrong
really
with that.
ask.
But the shows.
A lot of these shows, when it comes to jewelry, they may ask your process, but you answer back, well, I use gold and I use this and I use that and but they don't specifically go, oh, I do everything in CAD. So
Well,
do
there are some
No.
there are some shows that might ask you what parts do you buy versus what do you make. Some shows say they don't want production work, so production casting, for example. I've seen applications that specifically say that. So it's just an interesting territory we're going into. If we're talking about handmade,
Well, you
got a
program
question.
the CAD design,
what do people consider production work? I mean, if you're one guy and you're sitting there doing everything on CAD, so you're designing it, to me, that's just like a photographer. He's using his eye to create a design or something, and maybe manipulating the camera and the editing. Then they're sending it and having it printed or whatever. So what's the difference between a guy working in CAD, where he's doing all the design work, the layout, everything is his artwork? Then what if he does send it out? I mean, is that production? Is that considered production work?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I would think production is if you've got 8 employees and your hand isn't touching it.
That's what that's where I consider production work myself.
Even if you're
But is there?
Well, I've had production pottery, all done by one person, but they do 50
That's all right.
mugs and then match them up afterwards to see which ones fit together.
That's all right. Actually, if they're matching them up, if they have to match them up, they're not professionals. Potters can make the same thing over and over again if with a little practice.
The question is, if we're talking about a craft form and you're printing everything, where does the skill of making something come in, or does that not matter? And is it just about the design of the piece?
Depends on
Timothy Sullivan asked me this question this week because I did the fine art craft with Freedom House. And now I was doing a fine art show, and
I've had this argument with younger people.
Wait, 2 people are talking at the same time.
It's asking me if it was craft and was fine art and what I consider myself. And I just don't know how to answer that properly. Also, he was asking me the same question, what is production work? And I'm going I don't know what's production work, because I can tell you production work in photography is always going to be production work, because nobody really, we all doing machine work at some point. If it's not the printer doing the printing, but it's not like at the old time that you put in the paper in the tray. I don't know, I think that people had to adjust the definitions and the rules based on the current times that we live, and based on the technology we have.
Well, the thing is, with jewelry, you could actually, with jewelry, you could just pick out pre-made things from a catalog, have it made, have the stone set, and just get it delivered to you. So
we hope that isn't the case.
Right, but I don't know jurors can decipher, because if you're designing something and you're in CAD, you know, and you know, that's different than picking something from a catalog. Or, you know, people come to me and I'll make something and they think they designed it, even though it's in my style, you know, customers, I mean. So there's a lot of words we use loosely, and the shows that I do, you know, everything's supposed to be handmade.
Yep.
And some of those shows do spell it out. So there's nothing wrong with production work even. I mean, there's beautiful production work, but the point is that the market for what I do is so small, and I have to charge a lot more because everything takes so long. And it's just an interesting, like, the greater public doesn't decipher between the two. I mean, collectors may know, but I don't know. There's just, I think, a lot of confusion out there, even with like printmaking. A lot of people think prints are reproductions, but they're not. There's original prints that might be made from linoleum or metal or something like that. And you know, I would like shows to protect people doing that kind of work, because the market is so small.
But here's the problem. Printmaking in these days, you have to be careful with that, because you can do digital art, which is produced in the computer, draw in the computer, and then you print it in the printer. There's no reason, if you want to do it, in my mind, and this is probably because I'm keep growing with technology and making my life easier. If you can produce your work, you draw the image, produce the image, and then print it in the printer, and then going to all style printing making. What is the difference? You know,
I'm talking about like hand pulled prints. So if you are making a linoleum or a metal etched print, when you touch the print, you could even feel it. I mean, it's a different process than just using a printer.
I understand that. I understand that, but you cannot. That's the part that I keep telling people. That's a way to do it, but it's not the only way to do it. So basically, a person that does it in a different way, because there's no I'm pulling it, is doing it like the modern way to print things, which is probably equally stable or more easy to access, and you need less space to do it. You know,
is there any value in the craft, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, what is the question that you comes back to those thing that I always say to people? You need to have the skills to do some things, but if you don't have a good image, it's pointless.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good
fair.
image, you can be the best technically in any craft, any technical stuff, but if you put in junk in the front of people, they're not going to buy it.
Yeah.
There's two things here. One is technique, which anybody can master if they do it long. And then the other is concept into a reality, a thought process. That goes back to 5 or 10 or 20,000 years of it's a continuum. So it's about creating something new. Artwork is about creating something that hasn't been created, or a certain look or something. And 99.999% of us do not qualify under those terms. So we're just making stuff. But my thing is that at least I'm trying to be an artist. I don't know if, I don't know, but if I've achieved it, and I think most of us, at least on the higher levels, are trying to be artists or make some art or something, a new concept.
Well, as far as is it art or is it craft? That's the age-old question, and it's the age-old argument. People who painters will say craft isn't art. I don't mean all painters, but there's always that. But
A lot of the
But
painting I
craft,
see at shows aren't, that isn't art either.
well, I personally, I think craft can be art if you have a vision, and like you were just saying, you know, if you're making something, with your own voice and in your own intention, like rather than just making stuff, there's more of an intention. Like Oscar, especially after reading your artist statement, there's complete intention in your images. You're not just making pictures. They're not snapshots.
Well, that's supposed to be that way with everything you do. If you're trying to be an artist, and quite
No.
honestly, I was talking to I talking to a friend, and we was talking about abstract painting, and I started to realize that when you do abstract painting, it had to have some kind of flow, some kind of arrangement in there. It's just gonna throw colors in there on top of each other, and nothing make any sense to people. But it's hard to describe because it's something that you have to see to understand it and see the flow in it. But I don't know. I just, one thing that I can tell you, I have an interesting conversation with Caesar, and I keeping a lot of my thoughts for myself from here on. Like Mark, your name came up. That
When we're talking
conversation,
about
your name came up. What?
production, modern technique, and using, machinery or whatever. When I started in the jewelry business, there was nothing called FedEx. And every single, in the professional jewelry business, someone came in, bought a diamond, they wanted to put in a ring. A lot of times we'd have to make the head to fit in. We'd have to pour our own wire. We'd have to pour our own sizing stock. With FedEx, and with Stuller and some other companies now, they keep everything like that in stock. So if I need a piece of wire a certain thickness, I can just buy it. There's no reason for me to pour that wire and pull it all the way down to the size, spend half a day making wire.
But it's nice to know you can't. But it's nice to know that you can. I mean, one of the things, like during the pandemic, certain things were harder to get. Like, I don't know, certain gold tubing, Hoover and Strong doesn't carry anymore. And I thought, well, I could always make it myself. And there's that. So I think
I agree.
there's something to,
if you're a master, you can make it yourself. If you truly know the craft, you can do it all yourself. But is it worth that extra time to be able to say, oh, I pulled my own wire? I don't think the customer care.
Right. That was actually a lesson for me long ago. So I used to make every single chain. And I remember long time ago, I was in Auto Fry and I was looking at their chains. And what I was making, I could just buy. And it was this epiphany. It's not like I was cheating or anything, but it was a lesson for me.
Yeah, because the chain was available, and maybe the chain wasn't the main thing they were looking at what was attached to the chain.
Right. And if I'm going to make my own chain, it should be something that you can't buy.
Yeah, there you go. So that's where I think in jewelry, especially now that there's CAD and there's all these commercial availability to the parts and the pieces, not just buying parts and pieces and putting them together, but buying wire, buying heads, and then creating something out of those that has never been created. To me, that's still, you're using your artistic talent as well as your abilities of a craftsman.
Right.
But yeah, where's that line? Some people think, oh, like you just said, you should make every chain, you should make every clasp, you should, it's possible, but I don't think I'd be able to make enough money to live on spending the time doing all that kind of stuff.
There's no reason to make those things.
Well, I make a lot of my clasps, but it's part of my thing. It fits with my work, and
yeah, that's different.
That's a little different, yeah.
So it's
are probably looking at that, and they're educated, and they know. Oh, I've never seen anything like that before.
Hey, I don't mix my own clay.
There you go.
That's, you know,
Yeah, and artists, painters don't mix their own paints.
I mean, I
They don't
do,
go out and they don't go out and get berries and crush them and, take
Yeah.
iron oxide and
Yeah, and if you're
yeah,
and if you're
Yeah.
Thomas Kincaid, you add a little blood.
I've added some blood to my pieces before.
Oh, I think all of our pieces probably have blood in them.
Right?
I had to laugh about the art versus craft thing because that was a weekly discussion at college art
Really?
classes. Craft versus
Yeah.
art, you know.
Right. Many,
So
I
many
don't-
an article on
what
the
was pottery?
subject.
Is
I don't
pottery
subscribe to the difference. There's no difference.
Well, I think that craft is art also. I mean, yeah. But
Depends on where you
there's also some schools of thought that, selling your work is
That's right.
looked down upon.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you sell it, then you have to make another one. It's kind of a motivator.
You sell it, you can buy a new car. That's a motivator.
Yeah. Considering that I'm just waiting for a good deal.
It's not going to happen, Barry. You're going to have to wait when you retire. Finally, maybe when you're in the grave, they probably a new deal.
Retire.
Good deal for you.
Retire.
Yeah, what's
what's that?
That's what you say it all the time to me. You're going to retire soon.
He
Who
is
says
retired.
that? I never said that.
I keep saying it. I'm going to be 65 this year. And what did I do? I signed
You're a
another
kid.
5-year lease on my studio.
You're a kid. 65.
Yeah,
Oh my
can't wait for that Medicaid.
Yeah.
God.
Congratulations
You
on
mean
that.
Medicare?
You
You
mean
get it.
Medicare.
Medicare,
Oh,
Medicare,
Medicare
whatever,
at 65.
whatever you get at 65.
It's Medicaid,
Medicaid.
and
You can get that now.
unless you're below the poverty level, then it's Medicaid. Wait, it's Medicare, and then Medicaid is.
I thought Medicare is an age thing. You have to be a certain age to get Medicare.
62.
Yeah.
62?
Well,
Is that right?
but every year is 8%. The
Yeah.
longer you wait to take it, the more money you get.
Yeah, it's tied
Not
to
really.
Social Security.
security.
Social Security, yeah.
You get more
Medi-
every week, every month, but you don't get it. But you're missing out those 12 months where you were getting that. I think it's 50.
Medicare.
Go on.
It's just one of the most incredible safety nets, and
It's all going to go away in a week and a half.
please don't say that. My mother is
Hey, wait a minute.
living on that, but
I know, that's right. A lot of people are.
and Social Security. I mean, they're such incredible things. But I have to tell you, hospice.
I'm kind of busy right now. Are you going to be in town?
Mute
He's
yourself.
talking to somebody at the door.
Next week.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to talk to you because I'm here for that. Well, I know that whenever you come here, I'm gone. So, yeah, no, next like 6 weeks.
Should I mute him?
So
Yeah.
come by and see.
No,
He's
he's
coming
coming back.
back.
I
No
looked at
maps,
the
I'm
numbers,
telling you.
looked at the numbers on Social Security for me, and you're right. You can take it at 65 or at 67 or whatever. And it was a 10-year difference. So if I took it today at 65 instead of waiting till I was 67, it would take 10 years to make up that difference of the 2
Yeah.
years I'm not getting.
Yeah, but the money is.
And then
worth
after
it.
10 years, I'm losing.
If you wait another year after that or 2 years, it's 15 years, the break even point.
There you go.
But listen, 10 years, so you would be 60, 70. Well, that's you might want to wait on that, but
Yeah.
at some
I
point,
just hope that it doesn't disappear. I mean,
Well, inflation is going to eat up that, a lot of that difference in,
That's
you
true
start
too.
to-
actually,
Yeah.
it's not inflation. It's I remember reading an article recently that because wages are so low, people aren't paying in as much. So if the wealthiest in our society actually paid their fair taxes, and I'm talking about per capita, you know,
Yeah.
why should I pay more in taxes than Mitt Romney? You know, I mean, that's really the issue. You know, more than inflation. I mean, wages are stagnant. You know, people can't afford to rent a one-bedroom apartment on a minimum wage.
That's true.
I mean, I don't think, you know, I mean, we support, you know, yacht owners getting a tax break, or people who could afford a home get tax breaks. And when plenty of people who work jobs like here in Santa Fe, city workers can't afford to rent an apartment here. They have to live an hour away in Albuquerque. Because they're not getting paid enough, and housing is very high. So I wouldn't blame inflation. I didn't blame wages.
But what you say is happening everywhere, because that's a concern that a lot of people in Chicago have, like, and especially in the South Side, that it's getting, we don't have low income properties, and the city is trying to put more, merging more things, but you know, it's not easy to do. Overall, it's becoming a big concern for everybody around the states. It's like according to the couple of people that I was talking to in finance, they all keep saying to me $25 to $30 an hour minimum wage is to be, that's what you need to be making.
Yes, exactly.
To be okay.
Just to have a one-bedroom apartment.
And that's what make all the things really expensive also, because you have to compensate how to pay for that in other ways. So
well, it's only expensive because people aren't getting paid enough.
Well, it's just that I'm going to tell you from my personal experience as being this year, everything went up in price to me, and I didn't felt it until probably December, January, when I started getting hit with the when my health insurance went up, when my car insurance went up, when everything went up, the things that you need to have to operate went up. And I don't know how you pass that to the customer with no
if the cost of living goes up, I mean, you have to raise your prices, you know, to a degree. I mean, otherwise, what else can you do?
Hey, I just looked this up. Minimum wage was passed in 1938, and it was challenged, and it was declared unconstitutional. But then the Fair Labor Standards Act established it again, made it legal. It peaked in terms of buying power. You know, in other words, whatever the minimum wage is versus what you could buy with that. 1968 was the peak.
And the poverty level hasn't changed, I think, since about 1972. I mean, I could be wrong on that year, but I don't know offhand what, like, if it's still $12,000 or something like that.
I think that might be state to state too.
Well, no, there's a federal, I mean, you're right, cost of living is different in every state, but I don't know if it relates to each. I mean, it's a lot more expensive to live in San Francisco than in Fort Wayne, Indiana, for example.
Maybe not. You think that, but like where I live, the rent, it's ridiculous, the prices here.
Yeah.
For some little dinky town, come on.
Where do you live, Barry?
Marquette, Michigan.
Marquette.
Yeah. But you have a university there, so that makes it more expensive too. Do you have any idea, Barry, what
I'm from the UP. I'm like a virgin here, but I live in Houghton in Michigan, and I'm
Mhm.
not very far from Barry, and I am astounded at the prices of rent
Yeah.
there. I don't know how anybody can afford, like, a simple little apartment is $1,500 a month.
You talking about Marquette?
No, I'm talking about Houghton and Marquette.
Yeah.
So,
I
so
mean,
a one bedroom, would you say is,
And people, there are the simple thing is there are no jobs there. There are no jobs.
wow,
So
Well, there's jobs, but they pay $7 an hour.
right.
Well, you can work at McDonald's for I think 15 now.
Yeah.
when
Well,
I started working, minimum wage was $2.35 an hour. $2.35 an hour. That was minimum wage. And it stayed
What-
there for years and years and years and years.
yeah, but places were really cheap.
What?
For all those years, places were really cheap. Not like now. It's ridiculous. And
Well,
and we're talking about dumps. You can get a
because
dump for
everything
1,500
went up
bucks a month.
because tourists.
To keep pace, the minimum wage has to be around $25 an hour.
That's right.
I saw the car wash you're advertising $18 an hour for people working at the car wash.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what? Bucky's
Oh, yeah,
they post their wages
right
right
on
there.
Yep. Just saw
Hey.
it this weekend.
I wouldn't mind being a manager.
Yeah, $150,000 to $200,000 to be a
Yeah,
manager.
yeah.
It was crazy. And then $2 extra if you work the night shift on the hourly guys.
That's right. I saw that too.
What's
Problem is
funny
all
is
the-
people say, what's funny is, there's not enough workers and people are saying, oh, people don't want to work. Well, we're at like maximum employment. The unemployment is like 3.5%.
You know,
really low.
I see people panhandling for money, and I and sitting next to a building that says help wanted.
Yes, but then what you're not taking into consideration is mental illness, which we don't treat in our country.
No,
So
we just give them a gun.
I think they look all right. I think I'm not gonna. I don't want to get into trouble.
all right, look, I just had a meeting
Politics.
with the
I would
Alan-
just say this. I give money to all the time on the street side, and like 90% of them are victims of mental illness. So
well, I just met with the director of the homeless shelter down the street from me, and there's treatment, and there are certain people who can't get into this homeless shelter, and this is the homeless shelter of last resort. So there's this hole, which is something our society doesn't treat. The people who are really screwed up, they're users, they're completely, dysfunctional. And so instead of being allowed into a shelter, they're on the street, which is not good for those of us who live here. And, it's this whole, but then if you go backwards, where does it stem from? I mean, as a society, we don't deal with mental illness, and it would be fiscally cheaper to have programs for people like from the start before they even become homeless. Anyway,
And right, maybe they should start doing art sheds.
Yeah, you can sleep in your car
Or your tent.
or your tent.
A tent.
Canopy.
You'll have to rent a studio or something.
well, these are people who can't fill out forms just to even get SSI. So I doubt they'll be able to do art fairs.
No,
There's
probably
just a
not.
certain segment of our society, and it's getting worse and worse because we don't treat it. Instead, I mean, we just ignore it.
Hey, don't you have to be mentally ill to do what we do? To do art fairs?
No, and you also, but it's a lifestyle, right? I mean,
Yes, yes.
but you have to be organized, right? You have to meet deadlines. You have to be able to get your sales tax licenses. And I mean, it's a big juggle and a lot of context shifts too. I mean, you have to be the artist, right? You have to be the roadie, everything else
Hey,
in between.
That's what I say.
Yeah. You have to be, we're bookkeepers, right?
We're the
I mean,
truckers, we're the teams without joining the Teamsters Union.
right. I mean,
We're
and
the
then we also have to
shippers.
think, we have to think about, setting up our tent, which, you
We're the
want it to look
laborers.
nice. So there's that. We're the designers. Yeah, we're everything.
We even plug in our own electricity.
Not in
Unless-
Chicago.
That's right.
Unless you're doing an indoor show in New York
Unless
City
you're
and they won't
Doing
let
the
you.
merchandise mart in Chicago. You
That's
can
right.
plug it in, but they'll still charge you
Right.
120
That's right.
bucks.
They will. That's right. I said New York, but it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. I think Boston also.
Yeah, any of these cities.
Anyway.
So, Alison, thank you, by the way, with the corrections. That's
Oh,
still,
yeah.
Steve didn't get around to give it his, so I'm going to use yours tomorrow. I need to hand
Well, I'm
that
waiting for
piece
you. Wait. I'm waiting for you to read it, send it back to me so I could do another
Well,
look,
it's
another
fine.
look
I
see.
read it. I read
Yeah,
it
but
already.
it needs just one more.
Okay, I'll send it back to you as when we get out of here.
All right.
Because I already went through it and there was only a couple of typos in there.
Okay.
So
I didn't proof it for that though. I was doing content.
no,
That's why it needs
I
another.
just,
That's why it needs another.
don't worry. I'm really particular. I was what?
You're teaching Oscar how to spell and speak grammatically correct.
No, I'm just
No.
proofing it. That's all.
Proofreading it.
I always tease Oscar. He could do it. He can do perfect English, but he does it purposely sometimes, I think.
Style.
I used to make, like, when I was learning jewelry and not selling it. Yeah, I mean, I made like $30 an hour in the 90s doing technical writing. So
there you go.
It was a good skill. But and I remember I applied to this job for a jeweler, and it paid like $8 an hour. So I thought, and the other thing is, it was a lot of buffing and finishing work, and it's my least favorite thing to do. I mean, it's very important, but yeah. So.
And how old were you then? 20s?
About that. I was in my 20s. Yeah. But even like in the 80s, scooping gelato, I'd make like $12 an hour. And so, wages really have gone down for, I had all those, all kinds of little jobs. And that's why working for that jeweler at $8 an hour just really, if I thought I would learn a ton, then I probably would have taken. Oh, and there were two of us that she was going to try it out, and I thought for $8 an hour, just wasn't worth it.
Was that San Francisco?
No, that was. Oh yeah, that was. Yeah, that was in Oakland. But it was like in the 80s in Boston, the little jobs I had, I made a lot of money. I mean, decent money at. And waiting tables was always good because you didn't have to work full time to make enough to pay your rent.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck with that now. Good luck with that now.
Well.
I sold shoes
Oh yeah.
because
Wow.
it was a commission job, and I could work the weekends and do really well.
Oh, so are you a good salesperson then?
I have my
He thinks he
moments.
is.
Mhm.
He thinks he is. They wasn't really smart for him. I said, like, let's throw it a bone to the poor guy. He's trying. He's being polite, but that's the only reason why he's getting sales.
What kind of shoes? Were they nice shoes or
Yeah, they were
utilitarian?
nice shoes. No, well, there was some of that.
Mhm.
I thought you work in Tom can.
No. We had our own stores. We had like 7, 8 stores. It was an independent. I did the buying. I did everything. I was the manager.
Oh,
I did the
wow.
buying. I did the hiring. Well, actually, no, that was after. That's when I got out of college. But during high school and college, I sold shoes because it was commission.
You think it was going to be a career?
No, especially after Married with Children came out, Al Bundy.
Yeah.
Although I think I was done by then.
I feel lucky because I went straight from high school into the jewelry industry. I've been sitting on a bench since I was 18.
Oh.
Didn't go to college.
I didn't.
First went in as a bench jeweler for 6 months at a place, then went to another place who did diamond remounting while you wait at all the Zales and Gordons and Federation
Wow.
department stores. They taught me to be a diamond setter, and by 20 years old, I was traveling around the country. This would have been 1979, 1980. They're paying me $100 a day plus bonus 6 days a week plus all my expenses. So I'd go on the
Those
road
are great.
10
Great
weeks at a
skills
time.
also.
Yeah, 10 weeks at a time on the road, come home, take a month off. So I've been pretty fortunate. I, fell right into what I like to do. And back then, that was pretty good money.
Actually, I'm trained more to be a show director than an artist.
Key West is looking.
Are you starting a show?
No.
Key West is looking for a new director. Be perfect for you, Barry. All
Key
that
West.
sun.
Hey, you know what? I got a friend in Key West. I'd have a place to stay. Wait, what gallery is this? Oh, the show. The
Key
show?
West show, yeah.
The island one?
Yeah, the big one, whatever they have down there. I know another artist that went and did it this year, and then they actually offered him the job.
Really?
But he doesn't want to go back down there and live.
It's hot.
So I hear they're looking.
Wonder what they pay.
I don't know. I didn't really ask him that.
Probably minimum wage.
Yeah, and you only get 5 hours.
30,000 a year. Let's see, what's his name? The New Yorker, the New York guy.
Bill Kinney.
No, the guy, from Manhattan, who has his own shows, American Art Marketing.
Richard Rothbard.
Richard Rothbard.
Yeah.
So Richard had these galleries, and he needed a manager for like the one in the city by the Sheridan. I think it was on 7th Avenue or something. It was connected to the Sheridan or one of those hotels, and but he was only going to pay 30,000 a year. He goes, that's what it pays.
Commission.
You couldn't live in Queens or Hoboken for that.
Couldn't live anywhere, let alone New York City. Those aren't ideal places to live anymore.
No.
Well, the other thing is, like New York, because it's so expensive, you don't really get the innovation and creativity. Like I find great bread bakers across the country. Like in Lawrence, Kansas, there's this amazing bread baker, and places like New York, if you're a bread baker, you've got to have a whole like chain of places in order to survive. So, there's really, there's no room for that anymore in, innovation. And I mean, I grew up outside New York City and I used to love the city so much, and you never knew what you were going to come across. And, but it's a very different place now. You could find good bread bakers and good coffee shops across the country these
We have
days.
both. We have a really good
Well,
coffee. We have more than one really good coffee shop and a really good bakery.
Well, it's no surprise. I mean, also college. Is Marquette a college town, or is it just part of the city? And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do, and and that's part of the city.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I can't wait for the little brats to get out of here. Actually, they are gone. I think it's summertime,
Uh-huh.
summer school.
I live here
Yeah,
in
and
Carmel, Indiana. It's one of the lower places to live in the country, but also rated one of the best places to live in the country. We have great schools, we've got public art. We've got a $165 million performing arts center that the city built. One of the only acoustically perfect buildings in the world, really.
so where is that geographically in Indiana?
It's the north side of Indianapolis, so it's the first city
Oh.
north of Indianapolis. We're a suburb, really. If you didn't know any better, you probably would think you were still in Indy. If you're driving up the road, you can't tell any difference how big city sprawl becomes. But we have the lowest property taxes in the state in our city. We have great corporations that have home offices here that pay a lot of taxes to create all those things. We have I think close to 150 roundabouts now. And I would say at least half of those have sculptural work in the middle of them. So tons of public art.
But are drag shows allowed, and can you get an abortion?
Drags.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's state law.
Are you sure about that?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Indianapolis is very liberal. Carmel may not be, and the counties may not be outside of Indianapolis, but Indianapolis has always been a Democrat city, and that's where the majority of people live in this state. So what else you guys want to talk about? Talking about juries?
Jury
Hey,
process.
Hey, Oscar, you were talking about Belleville. We were talking about Belleville yesterday, day before.
Yes, sir.
And I was I was thinking about the Clay. Clay would probably do pretty well there. And one of our friends who was there, who sells functional pots, and they're really nice, did really well.
I think it's a conservative area, so I think, like you said, functional work probably does better.
Yeah,
People come from St. Louis.
No, I
Do
don't
they?
think they pull out people from St. Louis, really.
From
They
Clayton?
pull out very few. The orders that I got all are going to Belleville, and one is going to let me find it. The two orders that I got, one goes to Belleville and the other one goes to Berkeley, Michigan.
I know where that is.
Yeah, next to Detroit.
I grew up right there.
Yeah. No, that was another thing that I find out interesting talking to the volunteers was that they say the reason why that show was so hard to get in is if the director liked you, you in, even if the jury didn't vote you in. So it was weird to hear that. So this year, the new director saying whatever the jury decide, that's what it's going to be. We're not going to override that.
You're talking about the
So-
mayor?
I'd say that's 80% of the shows in the country, Oscar.
Yeah, which I don't understand half of the time, you know.
Well, which just goes to show you that this whole jury system is nothing but it's antiquated. You know, you've heard my speech about this. I just think it's an antiquated system to do something like this. Developed way before the internet, developed way before the technology that we have to be able to check someone out and see if they're telling you the truth. 3 photos in a booth shot. That's, in my opinion, it's ridiculous. I don't understand how that system has never evolved from beyond that. Other than
It's more like
place to
four.
hide behind.
Not
like 4
much
or
has
5, but-
evolved from that system.
It's more like 4 or 5. But that said, what would you like to see as a weighted jury?
I think that shows should take the nod from what St. James Court has done for years. I don't know if they're still doing it, but they would have peer jury at every show. They would pick 2 potters, 2 jewelers, 2 painters that they thought were of the highest quality, and allow them to go through the show and peer
But
jury their category.
Who's to
don't
say?
think
Who's
they-
to say what the highest quality is, though? That's the
Well,
problem.
the show
I don't think
director-
they do that anymore.
Well, I know. I think they've stopped too, but I thought it was a great system because then, let's say you had 3 jewelers checking all the jewelers in the main show. They would come back with a clipboard with ratings on them, 0 through 10 or whatever it was. They would take the top 50% of those people juried and re-invite them. Then
Well,
they
they
would
still do something like that. You do get a score. I just
Yeah.
don't think it's artists that are in the show.
I think you're right, because I used to be asked to do it and they haven't asked me, and I'm
I
on
mean,
some sort of advisory
But
board.
why would anybody walk, that was selling work there, leave their booth and walk around and jury? That
Well,
doesn't
that's a
make
good
any
point.
sense to me. would do that?
I would do it, and my wife is a better salesman than me anyway. But I
Yeah,
would
but what
do
if she's a saleswoman, but what if you're doing a show alone? Not everybody does a show.
Did I say
Not everyone does a
salesperson or salesman?
Yeah, salesperson, how about?
Salesperson.
Yeah,
Oh, I
but
love
so
it.
I
the
would
thing
do it
is,
first thing in the morning, or I do it on a Sunday when.
but you
when we're-
can't leave your booth. You can't leave your booth full of jewelry alone either.
No, you
No.
can't at
Oh, you
all.
can't. Not at all.
Not
But
for a
anyway, you were
nanosecond.
asking what type of system do I think would be better? I think
Yeah,
that was a great system because then you had the return of the people that maybe the customers were wanting, and you were rotating out the bottom half, allowing new artists to get involved.
but then how would
everybody-
somebody who's never done the show ever get in then?
Well, they re-invite the other 50%. So
Right, but then there's so few
re-jury.
spaces left.
They rejury the other space.
the other half, exactly.
And then how are the artists who always get in supposed to have any growth? I mean, what if they're just doing the same work year after year?
Well, I don't
What if
think
they're
that-
really good?
Yeah, maybe that.
What if
maybe
they're
that's-
what if they're not?
What if they're related to the jurors?
Well, we
There's
just had
that
that
too.
problem.
What if they're related to the director?
Okay.
Don't start that. Don't start that. Don't start that.
Long's Park used to have something like that.
What if you pay the director a certain amount of money to be in the show?
I know someone who's getting ready to start a show, and I advised her to be different and make it an invitation only.
You know
Only
what?
invite Who you want.
Yeah, but what
That's
if
what
she
I would
hasn't
do.
heard? But
There you go.
okay, so I think Atlanta Contemporary is invitation only.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
First year.
but the thing is, how are they supposed to have heard of everyone? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's
I
They
can tell
can
you what
invite
Cherry
people.
Creek did.
What they
yeah.
do.
Cherry Creek went to shows like Coconut
Yep.
Grove when it was the best show in the country, and
Yep.
and invited people to do the show. They handpicked people.
That's
In
what I
fact-
was gonna suggest they
In
do.
fact,
Yeah.
and that's what in fact, that was the dumbest mistake I ever made.
You got invited.
Okay,
and didn't go?
you can quote me. 1,600 miles for a new show? I don't think so. It was the best opening day of any new show in the history of shows. There was nothing like it beforehand, and there was nothing like it afterwards. Everybody sold everything they brought.
Wow. I don't think it's
Do you
like
know
that
what I,
anymore, though.
do you know what I would like them to do honestly is to instead in 3 or 4 images and the booth, I think that they should ask for 6 images and the booth to be reviewed only by the director.
I would like 7 images. I'd like an odd number of images, not an even number. Better balance. No, it's better balance though.
You know, Allison, you've been in rare form lately. In fact, I don't have to complain on Art Fair Review because you're right in there. You know, I'm backing you up, but I love that it's you and not me because usually it's
Oh,
me.
I know. Well, yeah, I get it. Usually it's me too, so I hear you.
Well, let's
But-
talk about that real quickly. I read something on Art Fair Review, even though I'm not a member and I'm not allowed to be on there. I read everything. That there was a conversation about how to vet production shops and buy sell.
Yeah.
And it was suggested by Carla Fox and David Bernstrom. Number one, they said to go look at their PPP money and if they had employees
Oh, I
because
saw
that's
that.
public knowledge.
Well,
And
you can't
the
look at
worst
that's
one-
that.
Well, I agree because you could have someone doing your accounting work and be an employee or whatever.
It doesn't
And then
mean
the
it.
other
Right.
thing they said to do, and this was Carla Fox specifically, well, why don't we find their websites, call them up and pretend to be a customer and see if they use the words we or us. And they were honestly talking about that being a way to determine if you were production or.
It also doesn't determine anything.
No,
No,
what
a
I
lot of
thought-
people.
Not at all.
A lot of people use we
Yeah.
in there.
If there's any doubt, go there.
I
Go
always
the
look,
thing is-
drop in.
and when I'm talking to a customer, I always say we because I want it to sound like we're a bigger operation than just me sitting here at a bench.
Mhm. Actually, when I'm talking to a potential customer and they say, well, they refer to my business as we, I'll say to them, oh no, it's just me. There's no
Yeah,
we.
that's what I say too. I say I'm a
but-
dinosaur. I'm the only one that does this. You know.
But it is, it's like, it's impossible to 100% vet anything. But I will say, a lot of juries don't have anybody knowledgeable about jewelry, and that is an
No.
issue.
You know, Carla redefined that in another post, and she said production work, and this is what I agree with. Production work is when you have a bunch of people making the work and you're at a show selling it. So when you know that other people are making it and you're not there, and
That's
that to me
Yeah,
is
but
production. That's
yeah.
production work. But you
Yep.
can also be there
But wait,
working
wait,
with
wait, wait, you
your
cannot-
crew.
That definition, that's the problem. That's the problem because then you get the problem when I got pissed off and with everybody in that group is that you when you use that definition, it should not apply to photographers because for the longest
That's
time
right.
that I can remember, photographers are always sending the color work to the labs.
Yes.
We do all the correction, especially in this day, we do all the prep, all the work, and the only thing that goes to the lab is to print it, mount it, and send it to the customer. And you cannot penalize photographer for doing that because that will fall in that definition she's using. So you're not going to allow photography in any art show now because we don't do the last step.
Well, it's
Which-
always been that way. Photographers have always been like the black sheep of the art show industry.
Mhm.
I understand, and they always look us like what's really obvious for me that they
You
look at
know-
us like the bottom feeders of the art shows.
See, now I look at painters that have prints that they had manufactured somewhere else as the bottom feeders. Photography, it's inevitable. You know, what can you do? With painting, you paint something and then you have these cheap prints to sell.
And that's
Yeah,
the other thing.
It can be
That's the
done in
whole thing.
all of our medias. You know, you can
Yeah.
be a jeweler, designs it on CAD, sends it to a shop, and has everything done. What's
Yeah.
the difference between that and a photographer? In my opinion, the photographer's artwork is done at the moment he clicks the button and he processes that through some sort of editing system. The artwork's done. Now it's just a
Well,
manufacturing
well,
process.
the editing system definitely, whether, when they play with color or the dark and the light, that's a manipulation by the photographer,
Right.
which basically focuses the way that a viewer could look at an image, and if they're edited differently, they may focus on a different area. So that, I think, that and the image are probably the most important part of a photograph.
Yeah,
But the
but
process
I
of
was-
actually putting it onto the paper, matting it, framing it, that's just process. It's not art.
that's
But as
that's
far
my-
as far as how to jury a show, what's an ideal way? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. But
I just still think, I still think that the booth shot should not be in the jury process. It should be not be in there. That should not be in there, because if you go to the St. Louis jury process, you can tell that 75% of the booth shots are staged, Photoshop the crap out of it, and then you
Well-
go to the
Really?
what? Yeah, and then you go to the art show, and that's the part that bunks me. And,
Well, yeah.
and then you go to the art show, and you look at it; it's not set up, not even close. Though it looks
think-
like somebody bombing in the booth, and
Yeah.
then you go like, "How in the hell you got in here?"
You know what?
You know,
I think
I
booth
take
shots
my
are
booth
very,
shot
very
at the
important.
show.
I do too.
That's exactly what I do. And shows need to say, I think that you should have to disclose what's Photoshop, but I think the booth shot is really important because it gives the scale of the work. With jewelers, there should be a close-up shot.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but you
But
still
it-
don't need. It should not be a determined factor if you get in or not, because that's just the booth shot is the tiebreaker most of the time.
I would say this, I jury a few shows a year, and whenever there's a decision that, did you like this one better than that one? What do we go to tell the difference?
The
We
booth
look at
shot.
the
Booth
booth
shot.
shot. Yep. All the work, you see a bunch of silver jewelers, all the work is competitive and all maybe, let's say you have 5 guys that you go, they're all about equal in quality of work and craftsmanship. You go to the booth shot to tell the difference. That's what we always do.
So I just think that should not be. I know that it sounds stupid, but it should not be.
but how are you going to vet it? I mean, just,
There's some
there's
we look at the
just-
booth shot and just look at the booth shot and go, no way. It's not going to fit. It's not the right kind of work. They need more experience because the booth shots, it's not the photo, it's what we see in the photo.
yes, exactly.
But
It should-
that should be the director deciding that, not the jury process.
To me,
So-
it should only justify your images that you sent.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be the exact images. It just has to be the certain quality or, your style.
Yeah, like if your jury images are of, I don't know, rusted cars, and then you see a booth shot and there's scenery in
No.
it,
Yeah,
that's the whole disconnect.
exactly. That
So
should
it
count
really
against
does-
them.
It just, brings it all together. The booth shot. I don't think the
I think-
director should have to decide that. Plus, that's a lot more work for the director.
Oh,
too.
no. That's what they should be vetting all the booths to make sure that they follow their rules that they
Yep.
impose.
I agree.
Yeah, but the director might not know that the booth shot is stolen and then that you've photoshopped somebody else's images
Which has
into your
happened
booth.
a lot. We've seen that lately. been a
I
couple of,
I
understand
don't know.
that, but still, I still think, I just going about that because a lot of people putting, I'm about to shoot my bush shot again, and and I'm going to make it now more generic because it will be easier for me to swap the image in the background to put the new images in there instead of putting like old images because you're not going to be shooting this booth every 3 years for Winter Park because it's the only show that wants three images no longer than 3 years old, and they actually bet that. Are you going to be shooting a new booth shot every 3 years just to change because you have to show 4 new images?
It isn't that difficult once you set up and have it in the morning before you put up a sign to just grab a shot. Larry will fix it.
Right.
Yeah, you leave your Starbucks cup in it.
Yeah, like I did, right? Yeah.
Right.
hey, Larry, maybe we need to
Yeah.
go back and mess my booth shot up a little bit. Maybe that'll help me.
Because the way I set up my booth is not designed for a SAP application. I do totally, it works really well for me the way I have it right now. And I want to take the wall in the front and close the door in the back, basically.
Hey,
To do
Oscar,
it
your
right.
your booth looks really good, except for, and this is what the comments were. You need to put more like work next to each other. You kind of put work next to each other that clashes, and it's not in your images. Um, you know, like if you put the weeds, for lack of the reeds, whatever they are, that misty, which is a really really nice piece, and put the water lilies next to it. That's a disconnect. You should have I think you should have the same series next to each other. That makes a statement, and then have the other stuff on another wall.
Well, it's just more about that. Is more the water lilies.
And the pebbles and all that in the water.
No, it's. I understand what you're saying, but it's not. The way I position everything in the booth is designed for selling point. It's not necessarily.
I know.
Because the way you describe it, the way that you put it, it's one thing doing it for the booth shot.
Yep.
And
Just
another thing doing it for the customer. Because when I used to have all the rocks in one wall,
Yeah.
they were not selling. As soon as I start breaking,
Really?
I used to put 3 water lilies in a row because that's what it makes sense to put it.
Yeah.
But they weren't selling. Then I put the rocks in the middle, 2 water lilies in the side, and now it's the rock sells a lot, the 2 water lilies sells a lot, the one in the bottom, the fisherman is selling a lot, and the other 2 are moving here and there now.
Yeah.
The 2 in the front, it's just visually, you want the people, when you walk in your booth, you want people to look at piece, break, look at the next piece,
Yeah.
break. You don't want the people to just look at one and everything look the same to them. It's you have to make people stop and
You need
Yeah.
you're looking for breathing room so people
Yeah.
don't get overwhelmed. And I mean, I do the same thing with my jewelry. I have to I take things out of the cases. I pre-set up my cases, take photographs. I do that at home, but I'll ask Eric, what can I take out, because I don't want too much in there, because then people get overwhelmed. And and you listen to people when they go into their booth, how they feel, and that really plays into it. And at an art fair, it could be very overwhelming, with all the booths down the rows. But so it's like creating a little oasis where they can linger.
I've probably had 5 different booth shots over 20 years, and not one of them looks like my booth at the show. I set the booth up for a photograph. I set the booth up So the juries look at that and see a cohesive body of work in the pictures behind my booth. They see a picture that's one of my slides. I don't even use the same signage when I'm set up at a show. The signage has my name on it. It's big. So
Yeah,
what am I
you
put a
can't
black
put that
sign?
in.
Yeah.
You
I
can't put
have
that in
I
the
have
boot
big
shop.
I have big signage, but I just Photoshop out. I have to Photoshop out a lot actually, because I have also an artist statement printed on a banner with a picture of myself. So
Yeah. Yeah.
people always say
So
my
your
booth
booth
looks very
doesn't
minimal,
look
but
the same either because you have all this other
Well,
stuff. Like I don't
pretty
put our
much,
well,
probably-
it's my exact booth. It's just a lot of things are Photoshopped. The banner,
the
well,
stuff
there's
with
the
your name
image
on
in the
it, you
banner,
take out.
Yeah,
right?
it's our cases,
And the
that's
picture
our
and the
displays. It's
and the
some of the
picture of
pictures I
myself.
use, but yeah. And I think that's the problem with some of the booth shots is people are just taking a picture at a show and it looks, like in my booth shot, you don't see the desk that we use normally that
So
would be there to help the customer and to counter our sales. I don't show that in the booth shot.
I would
Just-
like booth shots to be exactly how they're used at shows, because it also can help weed out cheaters, you know, and so like I kind of wish we didn't have to make them look so pretty in the first place, just as a showing a documentation.
Mm-hmm.
I think,
That's right.
given the point of what the booth shot is meant to be.
It's meant to be a justification that your work is consistent.
And I know
That's
this
what I
guy,
think.
but really, really good. He's sitting right there. He
What?
can make your booth shot look great. Larry.
Oh, Larry, yeah.
He can do wizard work.
He made my photos of my work with an iPhone look like it was taken with a professional camera.
There you go.
Hey, your iPhone's now really good.
Mm-hmm.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, my boot shot was taken with an iPhone.
Well,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's booth shot is taken with an iPhone now.
Not mine.
Not mine.
Hey, they make movies with an iPhone, with
Right.
iPhone
It's
camera.
amazing. It's so amazing that you could, shoot videos with that thing. I mean, I have a degree in television production and film, and the equipment was enormous, and that you could do this on a phone
Yeah, right.
is amazing.
Yeah, lug those huge TV cameras around.
Yeah. But even digital cameras, I mean, was much more expensive having to develop film.
Yeah.
So that really changed. I think it made that like everyone's a photographer, which is a problem because not everyone has a photographic eye.
Yeah, but that's a little bit different here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but surely, you get people that think they could just photograph what you photographed, right? I mean,
oh, they always say that, and then you what you say. Then they show you the picture and it doesn't look anything like what you have in front of them.
exactly. They do the same with jewelry. Oh, I have something just like that, and they show it to me, and it's like not at all in the least bit. So
Well, they can't see it.
Yeah.
So who's doing what shows coming up?
I got 57 Old Town and Tablet Street.
I
And
have Summer Fair coming in 2 weeks, and then Talbot,
And where's Summer Fair?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
I've done that show for over 18. I think this is our 19th year.
Mhm.
It's not for everyone. It's a very conservative area. There were jewelers that have been there that have stopped doing the show. I do well there because there were 2 hours from my studio and we do a lot of custom. Someone comes in,
Uh-huh.
looks at a piece of jewelry and they like it and they love it. They don't buy it. They start to walk away. My first thing I always say is, hey, do you have some diamonds at home you're not wearing? We can just make that piece for you. Then they turn around. We'll
Great.
use gold. We'll use your diamond. So being 2 hours away, I can get a lot of custom people to drive that far to have something special made.
Yeah, that's great.
That's another reason why I try to use mostly diamonds, because everyone seems to have inherited their mother's jewelry or they're
Yes.
divorced or they just have jewelry from childhood that's sitting in a drawer. I can use all those materials to create something. So it adds a lot to our bottom line.
Then there's the people that, I'm sure you have this, they bring you jewelry and they think it's very valuable, but it's really kind of, you have nicer stones to use, say, or things like that. And
Yeah,
you know, it's hard because there's always emotion attached to those
right.
pieces.
Yep. I have one right now where we're using her rubies for a line set, and they're just cut so horribly that being able to set them properly is a task. But in the end, they'll be
Mhm.
her stones, whether they look, could we have supplied stones and done it, made it maybe a little more uniform and a little, yeah, probably. But so this person, when she gets it, it'll be, oh my God. You know what I mean? They'll be thrilled to death because we use their materials to create that.
Right. And it has the memory of what it was before.
That's it.
So it's
Yep.
jewelry is very emotional.
It is.
And I think
There was something on the news. A guy proposed using part of a tooth from that his girlfriend had lost
ooh,
for the center stone of the engagement ring.
Wonderful.
I've got
that
something
sounds
that
gruesome.
It
Well, they
does.
were hiking and she fell or something and broke her tooth, and he collected
Uh-huh.
that and had it.
I mean,
So
it reminds me of the Holocaust, frankly.
we
But
had a
you know,
lady come in a couple months ago, and her father had all gold teeth because he grew up in an area where they had sugar cane. So as a child, he sucked on sugar cane every single day, rotted his teeth out. So he had all gold teeth. When he passed away, she got an epidemiologist to go to the funeral home and take all these teeth out. So brought them to me. She wanted me, and I've seen people take a cap and make a ring before, make a necklace or a tooth. She wanted to take 4 of them and make a 4-finger ring. And so we did.
Oh wow!
So those are 4 caps soldered on top of. I mean, it's hideous, but you know what? She'll wear that to family reunions and Christmases, and everybody in the family will feel like he's there.
It's pretty cool what you did with the material. That's for sure.
It was definitely something. It was a one time for us. I'd never done anything like that. She went to 2 other jewelers, and one of them said no because they said it was brass, it was like brass knuckles, and it was a weapon. And they said they wouldn't make it because it was a weapon. I was like,
that's a little
that
extreme.
sounds like an excuse for not wanting to make it.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, people have asked me to melt down gold from their teeth, but it's a very, as I understand it, it's a very, very hard material.
It's got a different alloy. It's got different alloys than what we use for jewelry. So yeah. We've taken them in trade plenty of times. We'll weigh them and, figure the gold content and buy them, apply that to, but very rarely have I ever used one to actually make something.
There was a period of time where a lot of people were bringing me their gold for credit towards a piece. And, it's like found money for people. That's what it was like. And that stopped a while. But, if people had, like, if it was equivalent to, say, $2,000 worth of gold, that they would have no issue spending it because because it was like found money, so.
That's
Oh, yeah.
probably 2 months worth of gold there from trade-ins.
Oh, wow.
That's
Yeah.
just the 14.
Yeah.
We do, and a lot of that's done here in the studio. You know what I mean? We get
Mhm.
more custom here in the studio than we do when we're on the road.
Uh-huh.
Matter of fact, that's probably our #1 category in sales, that and just stones.
Mhm.
So one thing that I learned this week was after I thought that I placed all the orders, I need to make sure they actually place all the orders. I left one somehow. I didn't place. No, I think I placed the order, and then the lab delete the order by mistake, because I couldn't see myself doing that mistake. So now I'm going back and make sure that everything got delivered also. So it's been interesting.
Mhm.
I'm always worried that my stuff is going to break in transit.
Oh, that's a big worry for you.
Well, I haven't had one for 35 years, a
Oh.
breakage.
You're packing them right.
I always,
Yeah, all you have to do is break one piece, and you get you learn.
I
Oh,
always
by the
check
way,
in. Yeah.
when FedEx, just how you handle this in the accounting part? FedEx damaged a print of mine that I shipped to them. They sent me a check back for the value of the piece and the shipping. That counts like a sale now?
For the full
Wait.
value or your cost?
No, the retail value.
Their UPS insurance company sent you a check.
A FedEx company sent me a check.
FedEx. Oh, that's like a sale, and then you made another
Oh.
piece and send it again, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I wouldn't do
that's
that
a-
too much.
Does it zero? Wait, does it zero out, or you're up
Oh, yeah.
one?
Oh, you made a profit,
Ah,
right?
You
made a
sold the
profit on
piece
FedEx.
twice.
Yeah, I sold the
Okay.
piece twice.
It's 2 sales.
You don't want to do that too often, because I actually know somebody, and he died a while ago, who would actually purposely send something broken so that he would because just to get some money, because he was he was always broke. So there.
See, the way we ship, it's my jewelry insurer who I don't have to buy the shipping, the FedEx or the USPS or whoever. I don't buy their insurance. It's insured through my jewelry
Oh,
insurance. But
that's great.
they only pay for the cost of material.
Yeah.
So if I lose something, I'm out labor.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
And it's all labor. I mean, a lot of it could be labor.
Yeah, well, there can be some diamonds
precious
or
metals,
valuables there, but yeah, they only cover the cost of the material that I use to make.
That's all USPS will do too.
Oh, is it? Yeah, we've never had to make a claim through USPS or FedEx because,
Yeah.
rarely have we lost anything, and when we have, then it's just our own carrier that covers it.
Do you have to do a box in a box?
We do a box in a box, yes.
Yeah, I have that too, and it's always interesting trying to find. Well, I have boxes now that fit into the small.
We usually use a lot of FedEx, so we use the small FedEx box inside of the larger FedEx box.
Yeah.
I've been cheating lately and only using one box, and it doesn't seem to have cost me anything.
I think with jewelry, we're more worried that somebody's going to slice the outside box and try to just pull it out through a slice, at one of the stations where it may be stopped for overnight or something.
Yeah.
But that's just because you put Mark Grosser jeweler on it or something.
Well, that's the other thing. We never write
don't
the
wanna
word
do that.
jewelry.
Yeah.
And anybody ever mailing us something, we tell them to just put M Grosser. Never write the word jewelry on the box.
Yeah. And you
That-
learn that with the gem salespeople that come around the shows
Yep.
who dress down purposely. And I've known, guys that got robbed for $100,000 in at least in stones.
Yep.
Somebody
they'll
that
follow-
probably you guys know
Probably
wasn't around anymore. Can't
Not
think of
around?
his name. Huh?
not around anymore. This person.
No, can't think of his name.
Well, they come and
You-
go.
He used to be at all the shows. Lives in Florida or lived in Florida.
There was a guy
I-
that used to come to some of the shows, and we met him in Florida, and he left a tray of stones with me. He actually came to our store once, left a stone tray. And then I called him a few months later, and his number was disconnected, and I've never heard from the guy again. I don't know if he passed away. I don't know if he.
What was his name?
I don't. It's been several years ago, and I can't think of it now. But it was a guy from
Yeah.
Florida, younger
Yeah,
guy.
me too.
I know stone suppliers that won't even go to Florida.
Yeah.
Oh,
because
it's a
they've been
racket.
robbed.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Is it like specific to Florida?
No, I won't go to
Mm.
Chicago anymore. And that's 3 hours from me. I used to do all the suburb shows, and I'm just leery about walking around with a backpack of jewelry after a show, coming and going.
Yeah.
You
My
know,
work
in
has gone to some of the best restaurants in the country.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now I keep mine in a dirty little backpack that looks like anything anybody would just carry around. Some jewelers actually use roller bags. One particular jeweler I went to dinner with in Chicago quite a while ago, and the place we went to is called the Hole in the Wall. It's up in Highland Park, and it's owned by the mafia. You walk in, there's a guy in a yellow suit, with cufflinks and the menus on a chalkboard. They don't take any charge cards. It's cash only. It's going to cost you $100 a piece to eat there. So we're in there, and he's got the 2 roller bags, and I've got my 2 little backpacks with my wife. And as we're leaving, he's in front of us, and there's a double door. So I'm holding the back door as he's going out the first door, or the one to the outside, and there's a guy holding that door. And as I walk past that guy, his buddy looks at him, because they just walked through with the roller bags. His buddy looks at him and goes, "What was that?" And the other guy goes, "Jewelry."
Mhm.
I mean, these are just people coming into a restaurant,
Right. Yeah, the roller bags are a little obvious for sure.
Oh yeah.
And the handcuff
And the hand
Oh, right, the
to
handcuff.
the bag.
Well, I've learned that I travel with a knapsack and a satchel, because if you go to a museum, they'll let you take a satchel in, if it's small enough, where a backpack is a different category, even if it's a small backpack, and they'll want to check it, which of course you'd never do. So that seems to work.
Well, and that's the other thing at airports, going through the security at airports. Occasionally you get a new guy. Most of the old guys, they look at the X-ray, they know exactly what it is, and they don't
Right.
really.
It's like, oh, you have jewelry in here. Do you want us to open this for you?
Yeah, don't. Yeah,
Yeah, right.
they'll go bag check and they'll pull it out, and when the guy walks up, I go, "We can't open that here. We have to go to a private room." They don't like that, because they have to take 2 people in the private room, so they have to shut a line down and all this. But I've been in private rooms, 20, 30 times over the years, where they go through everything in the bag. They open every box. They look in every zipper, I don't know what they're looking for. It was pretty obvious.
I'm mostly stopped for food that I'm bringing, because it might look solid or something, but I'm not stopped often for my work.
Once they
And,
stopped me and said it was the roll of the credit card machine tape. I guess it's rolled so tightly, and it's the thermal paper or whatever, and it shows up as a big solid thing in the X-ray.
See, that's what I love to drive.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember at Denver airport, they were, oh, this is jewelry. And I kept saying, shh. You know,
That's
the people
right.
around me in line, everyone was
That's right.
laughing because they
Yeah.
just didn't get it. You know, they make you vulnerable.
Yeah, because you never know,
Yeah, you don't know who's around, who's listening, who's watching.
Yeah.
That's right.
Exactly.
Hey, I was at a show where the person across from me had their jewelry stolen, the bag, jewelry and money that they had taken.
Oh,
It was in a bag, and she had this setup where she had two cases, and there was the cases were split so that there was a
oh,
path in the middle to the
yeah.
back. And I was gonna go tell her, you shouldn't do that because it would be easy for
Makes you
somebody just to walk
vulnerable.
back and take stuff. Then I got busy, and then an hour later, she's going, oh, somebody took my bag.
Hannah
You gotta
Long,
protect
we
that.
all know about Hannah getting robbed at Coconut Grove.
Who?
Hannah Long, she's a jeweler. She
Yeah.
packed
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
up, left the bag sitting on the passenger seat of the car, and went to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst possible time to leave the bag is when you're packing to leave a show, because they're watching.
The question is, if she went into the bathroom, would they have confronted her?
Probably not, because it's a different set of laws. These sneak thieves, they just want to take it when you're not looking. They don't want to do an armed robbery or any sort of violence, because that's a completely
Mhm.
different
Hey,
crime.
remember when
Right.
Trisco got hit at Miami Beach?
Trisco?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And in Albuquerque, and I think he's been robbed at least 3 times that I know of.
They got hit in the hotel room.
Oh, they did in Miami?
Yeah. Yeah. They had somebody cancel their wake-up call.
Oh.
And then all
Look
of a
at-
sudden there's a knock on the door and it woke them up. And they came in. And after that, they had an armed guard at every show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
At the end of Coconut Grove one year, because a Baltimore wholesale was opened Wednesday, and it closed. The show closed Monday evening. So and it's 20 hours to get from Miami to Baltimore, and so like Tuesday would be you drive all night and then all day, and then you'd all night and all day, and then you'd set up at Tuesday night and then do the show on Wednesday. But jewelers would drive together in tandem to go up there because there was this racket. The Colombian gangs would be looking out for jewelers, and they would follow them.
Right.
And that was traditional. I mean, that happened all the time. So there would always be a group of artists, because they were going up there to do the event, me included, would you'd drive with them, and everybody'd look out for each other because it's a serious thing.
It is. Yeah.
Like
Well,
my stuff, what are they going to do with it? Smash it? But the jewelry has some value.
it has value just in materials. So even if they just melt it all down and
That's
sell
right.
off
That's right.
the
Yeah.
metal and the stones, yeah.
The stones, yeah.
Well, not all jewelry. I mean, I use precious materials, but it's really labor that is the
Right.
value in my work. So
Yeah,
somebody would be very disappointed.
Well, some of that stuff also, what ends up with it, if it's art jewelry and they aren't going to get the metal, they just take it to South America and sell it.
Yeah.
Well, you just could never leave your jewelry in the car, that I know.
Nope. Yeah,
I'm
we don't.
sorry that happened to her.
We pretend it's a baby. So where that backpack is nothing but our baby. We have to take the baby everywhere we go.
I've heard of
So
people
do you-
going to a hotel room in New York and pulling up, and they got distracted. Somebody come up to them, and they turn their head for like 2 seconds, and somebody would come behind and grab the bag.
Yep.
So question mark. Because do you think that she was not thinking when she did that, or because I cannot see any jeweler doing that. That's the first time I ever see anybody do something like that.
Well,
no,
I know.
that's not true. That's not
Yeah,
true.
I've
People
seen the
leave it
same
in the
thing
car.
happen.
In
Uh,
Portland, that happened. They left the jewelry in the car. Also, it's like you just are not allowed to leave jewelry in a car, period.
Or
Um,
even turn your back on it. I know Sally at Las Olas several years ago, she was packing her booth down, had the jewelry packed in a bag. It was sitting over to the side, and she just didn't have it, in her eyesight. When she turned around, it was gone.
right.
Because in Houston, there was a girl, a jeweler next to me. She put all her jewelry, she's working by herself. She put all her jewelry in her backpack. She put the backpack, attached it, tied it up like here and here, so no way to pull it out. And that woman broke the entire tent down with the backpack on.
Yeah.
Went to the car, drove to the car with the backpack in there, brought her car, got out of the car, put the backpack back on her, and load the car, and then she left. And it makes totally sense to me, but I just go like I heard comments from all that you feel sorry for her that happened in Coconut Grove, but some people said that was really careless. Other people said that was really stupid, that doesn't make any sense. And I just go like you don't know. Maybe she was tired.
Right.
You don't know.
Yeah, and you're in the secured area. Everybody's breaking down. You think all the people have left that aren't involved, but there's still lurkers. There's people sitting around waiting. They've spotted all the jewelers, and they're sitting there with their cell phones. They're watching 10 different jewelers at once, and as soon as there's some way to pounce, they'll jump on it.
I know a jeweler who had her work robbed. It was inside a convention center. The security didn't secure the doors when the show was over. And I know that show, and that show, if they see customers there, they'll say we're closing now, and they'll escort people out. But they failed in an aspect of security, and her jewelry was just in one little Tupperware, and poof, it was gone.
The big problem with my jewelry insurance is that if it's not in your possession, if you have left it in the car and go to the bathroom per se, they only pay 25%.
That's the other thing that the people was asking me the other day, oh, why you put all your stuff in wood crates? And I have to tell them, because if I get to a car accident and if it's not a wood crate, my insurance will not cover it. And they go like a what? He said like a what? Yeah. What you want me to tell you? If I don't pack everything in wood crates, they will not cover it. Because it can get damaged easily by any particular reason. And I just, you really need to pay attention to your insurance also. There's a lot of things that you don't learn. The other reason that people asking why I got insurance when I go to do installations, and I'm joking with a client, and because she asked me about the insurance. I said, yeah, I need to send it to my agent because they want to send it. I cannot send it to you directly. And she said, like, really, yeah, if you got good insurance, they will not let you do it like that. And she was like, and reminds me, the conversation is like, if you don't have insurance, you cannot walk inside any building in downtown to work. Like that's how bad it is. They look at you like, nope, no, thank you.
Well, a lot of people don't have business insurance, it seems. I mean, they're looking for when like shows ask us to, do that, get a certificate of insurance, and a lot of people don't have business insurance.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists that don't have insurance.
It's not that much money. Everybody should have it.
All right, I got 2% power left, so I'm going to sign off here. Thanks for letting me participate. Hope to see all you guys at the show soon. Everybody stay safe.
Be good.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Be safe.
Yeah.
Bye.
The other thing is, your camera Be a little bit higher up.
Oh,
Mhm.
do you know what should surprise me? How much it costs? This Madison, $610 for that show.
Yeah.
I thought it was 500. That's a little bit too much for that show.
Yeah. And for 610, they should actually give you something.
Yeah.
Well, Park City is $850, which is shocking. So it better be a good show. I haven't done it in years, but it used to be a really inexpensive booth.
Yeah, it's that's a lot of money, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah. You know what? I've talked to a bunch of people, a lot of people, and I think sales are waning now. That whole 3 or 4 year or 5 year thing is now playing out. And I always thought that we anticipate a recession. We're the first ones to feel it because they're not buying it, and there's
That
less
didn't
people buying now.
that
A lot
didn't
of
work for me in 2008, 2009, that time period. I didn't really feel it until later 2009, 2010. So
I had a couple 0 years.
ugh, that's awful.
Well, you go to a show and you do I think I was averaging $400 a day.
Oh boy.
I know. And it was unexpected. It started in Florida in 2008. And it was you commit yourself and you commit the money, and then it doesn't come in. It was kind of a shocker.
Yeah, no kidding.
And
yeah, that's what
sales are less. I mean, like Fort Worth. Now there was a rainout day, so that had a lot to do with it. But I heard a lot of complaining from people that do it a lot that they didn't do as well.
Yeah.
And then I went to Birmingham, Alabama, and I thought that was pretty. At least for me, it was horrible. Some people did really well, but there was that. And then I talked to other people. Belleville wasn't great for some people. I mean, everybody I talked to at the shows that they're doing, nobody's saying, "Oh, it was just like the old days."
No, but you know what?
So
Also, the other thing that I noticed in Barry, and this is from what happened to me, and I was talking to a couple Hispanic people.
yeah,
They were saying and also my other friends, white friends, also say the same thing. It's like you cannot say that the show went good, bad, great. There's a lot of people. They were saying there are people when you start selling, they're watching what you're doing, how many pieces you selling,
yeah.
and it's getting to the point that they sometimes it's irritating, and and instead of seeing well, he's doing well, maybe this is not my market. They go they start showing envy or anger to that person. Um,
Jealousy.
jealousy, and
That's ridiculous.
no,
Yeah, but it
it happens.
exists.
It's a
Right.
sense and happy hoping that you want to know.
Hey,
It's really,
guys,
really
do you want to keep
heartbreaking.
going? Because I got to go feed Elvis.
I actually need to go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's late.
yeah, it's
It's
5
6 o'clock.
away.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We
Well,
gotta
I
go.
will talk to you guys next
Oh.
week.
All right. Have a good
Be
weekend.
All
good.
right.
All
See
right.
y'all.
Yeah.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.